So, as we are on this road to the revolution, during this time in the colonies, there was a lot of tension, not just between the colonists and Great Britain, but also the colonists between themselves. Because as this was starting to happen, people were having to pick sides. And there were three main groups, or three main groups of thought on what category you could fall into here. And eventually it kind of became one of two, but it started out as three. So there were patriots, there were loyalists, and there were neutral people. So we're going to talk about what each of these mean. So we're going to start with patriots. So patriots were people living in the colonies that felt that Great Britain had taken their rights away as colonists. They thought it was very unfair that Parliament and that King George were taxing them without asking their opinion on things. They felt like they had no representation in government. We talked about that, no taxation without representation. These would have been the Patriot people. And they felt like the only way to make all of this right was for the 13 colonies to become their own country. So they were pushing to no longer be a part of Great Britain and to be their own country, and they were ready to fight for it. So not just fight with their words, but these were the people that were ready to go to actual physical battle, to war with Great Britain over this. And the Patriots felt that the king shouldn't have all the power and that citizens should have a say in government. And this becomes very important because this is what they base our government here in the United States off of once they do win the war. Spoiler alert. But there were also loyalists. Loyalists were a lot of different people, but loyalists mostly were loyal to Great Britain or the king. So a lot of them were rich landowners or people who had ties to Great Britain. They weren't looking to separate because they were tied to them in some way. Some loyalists thought that the taxes were fair, and some of them didn't. Some of them didn't think the taxes were fair, but they didn't feel like it was worth the actual physical fight. And all of the loyalists, no matter if they thought the taxes were fair or not, they thought that the colonist problem should be fixed peacefully with Parliament. They were not ready to go to war. They did not understand why the Patriots were ready to go to war. Some people chose to be loyalists because they were afraid to fight the British Army. Some people, like we said, were business owners, and a lot of their clients were people in Great Britain, so they didn't want to break those ties. But loyalists in general thought the actions of the Patriots were acts of treason. And treason means that they were, it was betrayal, or they were betraying the British government. And then finally, if you weren't in one of those, if you didn't feel super strongly either way, you were probably a neutralist. So neutral actually just means not helping or supporting either side. So neutralists didn't want to be in this fight at all. Some neutralists felt that problems between Great Britain and the colonies were none of their business. Some stayed out of the fight for religious reasons. They felt like there was no reason to go to war. They didn't understand the idea of harming other people, and so they stayed out of the fight. And some people just didn't care either way. They didn't really care who won. They were just kind of there to do their own thing, and they just left it that. So we're going to hear these words a lot, especially when we're talking about specific people as this fight starts and as we head into the war. So if you need to review this video, come back and check this video out if you're not sure if you hear the word patriot or loyalist or neutral, because those groups become important.